All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the podcast. I got Cornelius Parkin back on here, and today we were going to be talking about how to raise your testosterone naturally, and then if you wanted to take it to the enhanced side of things, what that could look like. So, he's been coaching, for like 20 years, so he has a lot of experience in these things. So that's why I wanted to have this discussion with him. So, Cornelius, I know I started working with Premier Hormone again, and you're really that's your thing too. So, but if someone wants to raise their testosterone naturally before going to like the HRT route, like what are some of the best movers for that? Yeah.
Hey, Sam, great to see you again. Great to get chatting about this. So, raising our levels naturally. Honestly, the lifestyle factors are going to be the biggest drivers. So, making sure you're getting sufficient sleep. So, in order to raise our natural testosterone levels, first we have to see what's depressing our testosterone levels. Because why wouldn't we have good, healthy test levels, right? Our testosterone does decline as we age, but not nearly as much as you would think. It's not like it drops by 50% or something like that. It goes down as the margin. So I think a big reason that people need TRT and stuff like that is because they just haven't been able to overcome whatever is holding them back. But first and foremost, we should see, look, can we have great healthy levels of testosterone? And let's say we have lower than average and we just want to get a little higher, maybe going on TRT isn't the best call. In fact, there you might want to do something, if anything, you could think into Clomid therapy just to bring up your levels, not naturally, because Clomid is a pharmaceutical, obviously, but it is a pharmaceutical it works by blocking. So I'm not the professional with that, so I don't talk about the specifics. But essentially, it raises your testosterone levels without depressing you. It'll actually increase fertility. So it's actually a really positive thing you could take if you had, let's say, testosterone levels which were deemed functional, 600, let's say, but you wanted to get them up a bit, but you didn't want to go, to a TRT. I would use Clomid. But for everybody, no matter where you're at, you need to make sure that you're getting your sleep first and foremost. And it's one of those things that everybody says it. I know, but it's like, but how is your sleep? That
Yeah.
you have to actually ask yourself, is the sleep good? Do you have something that measures your sleep that says, yes, your sleep has been good for the last 2 weeks? I wouldn't even think about anything else until I had that. But once, yes, your sleep is great, but your testosterone levels are still on the low side, then generally, assuming you're not over the age of 40 or so, often it's a body fat issue. I find if you have too much body fat, often, and if you went deeper into the hormone testing, you probably see elevated estrogen, perhaps prolactin as well. So in those cases, it's okay. Just do a diet. You don't have to take anything. You don't need anything like that. You can just do a diet, and that'll help bring it back up. And I suppose your main question is probably what supplements or herbs can we take? There are different ones, stuff like tribulus. The research on it says maybe that it doesn't increase your testosterone, but you know what I noticed from all these kind of herb stuff, Sam? More than anything, a libido boost and a little bit of an energy boost. And that is always a positive thing. So if you get that from a product, that's worthwhile. Even if your testosterone doesn't go up, but you feel just a little more vigorous as such, hey, I think that's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, besides, what do you think? You're a coach yourself, so you give me some ideas because this is like the most common issue.
Yeah, I like to start in the same place, like with sleep, because that's usually people don't realize like how poor their sleep is, and then even if they are sleeping enough hours in the night, it's not quality sleep, and they're still waking up like not feeling recovered. So I think that's where I've had made the mistake in the past is I was getting the sleep, but it wasn't like good sleep, especially because I was working like overnight. So it can be harder for you to get better sleep when you work during the day. So you have to really make sure you're sleeping in like a blacked out room and all these things to make sure like to set your body like it's going to be hard to kind of fight your body's like natural circadian rhythm because you're going to be up
Let,
like opposite.
yeah, let me ask you this because obviously I worked with you during that period of time. Do you ever feel like, did you ever find that your sleep got productive feeling? Like, did you ever feel like, yes, I can keep doing this? Or was it always just a struggle? Because as far as from where I could see it, you just soldiered through it. Like you got everything done, but
Yeah.
it was suboptimal for you. Your recovery wasn't as high as it could be. That's what I noticed.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. It's not going to be as optimal as you like it if you could sleep at night. But if that's just kind of the thing you have to work with when you work, like, on the railroad or, like, another blue collar job where you work, like, different hours is you're just gonna have to make the best of the situation. Because like, for me, my seniority isn't the best, so I can only hold, like, certain like, schedules. So that's just what I had to do.
Let me ask you, out of all the different stuff, you did various things to your room, right? You blacked out the windows. Was
Yeah.
that the most helpful for you? What made the biggest difference for you? I know for me, it's the sound machine. I really like to have a sound machine, and then I always put an iPad, a thing that goes around your head just that covers
Yeah.
your eyes. I
Yeah.
wear one of those, and then I can do a nap in the middle of the day. And for me, if I hear what sounds like rain on a tin roof, that for me is very relaxing. So, is there anything for you that you found like that?
I usually just have, like, the fan on in the room, like, one of the tower fans, and then, I just don't do, like, the eye cover just in case, like, if I was sleeping or something, then I need to, like, wake up and open my eyes quick to look for the kids. That's the only reason.
Do you honestly think it would make a difference? Like, because I wear it too. I mean, you just rip it off. I mean,
Okay, maybe it's just in my head then. I can try it.
no, I mean, dude, obviously I'm the same way. You need to be able
Yeah,
to be functional immediately. I
yeah.
just haven't ever found that an issue. I can use the eye patch. I'll sometimes when I pick Camilla up and I'm there an hour early, I'll just put an eye patch on and recline the seat and I'll be able to take a nap. They work really well.
Yeah, maybe I should get one in case I have to ever do, like, any, overnight shifts again.
It's even great just for a little nap. Literally, it just
Yeah.
blacks everything out. You get the one you can get ones that play music and stuff, but just the plain thing that covers your eyes, and it's great.
I didn't even know they had ones that played music and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's
I have both
fancy.
of them that I have. Yeah, they can play music, or you can connect it because they have little speakers, so you can connect. I've got two of them. You can connect it to your phone. Yeah, no,
Okay,
that way I'll just let's say during the afternoon put a podcast on, put it on, black my eyes out on the couch, take a nap.
nice. Okay, I'm gonna have to look into that for sure. Okay.
I like it.
Yeah, okay. And then, the second part is, yeah, usually I agree with you that you need to lose, body fat, like, with the estrogen. I think that's where I had made a mistake, like, several years ago, is I probably could have went harder into, like, a dieting phase before, um, getting on, like, HRT, because that's when I was powerlifting. So I know I was a little bit heavier. And, like I said, my sleep, I thought my sleep was good, but looking compared to how well I sleep now, my sleep wasn't as good as I thought it was.
When you were doing powerlifting, what was your thought when it came to diet? Was your goal just maximal calories no matter what because you get more leverage, or how were you approaching it?
Yeah, at that time, it wasn't, like, super crazy. I was just doing, like, if it fits your macros, so I was making sure I was having, I think, like, 200 and 250 grams of, like, protein and a decent amount of fats and then, like, a lot of carbs. And then so, like, for breakfast then, I think I was doing, like, oatmeal and, like, orange juice, and then, like, post-workout, I think I was doing, like, cereal and stuff, and then yeah, but the other meals, weren't the best. Like, sometimes I'd be just, like, making myself a turkey sandwich or something. It wouldn't be, like, chicken and rice or ground beef and rice.
No, but that's still not bad. There's nothing wrong with a sandwich. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, no. I was thinking more, sometimes people get in the mindset of just trying to get as big as possible, so they eat very poorly. That's not eating
Yeah.
poorly. I mean, like going and eating fast food in order to get more calories. That kind of
Yeah.
an approach.
Not during that time. Before, when I'd, like, first tried to do a bulk, that's what I was doing. I was going to get, like, Costco pizza and, like, burgers and stuff. But so then by then, I knew not to do that.
How long were you able to, because I've done that before as well. How long were you able to stay before you were like, I'm just too fat. I gotta reverse this.
Um, like, that first time when I was doing, like, with the Costco pizza and stuff? Oh, it was just a few months. I
Yeah,
think it was probably, like,
that
4
was my
months.
experience too, dude.
Yeah,
I used to always, Lee Priest would always talk about getting so big, and as a young guy, I was like, I want to be like that too. So
yeah.
he would talk about eating a whole chicken and a whole loaf of bread. I never could do that, but I realized that I could do that in 2 meals, so I
Okay.
started doing stuff like that. But I had a period of time where I had read all these different articles from, like, I don't know if you know who Gavin Kane is, but he was like a guru back in the day, and he wrote a three-part series on just like how to get as big as possible. And I followed the diet, but I could only ever follow the diet for a couple of weeks because my blood pressure would just go through the roof right away. It
No,
just
yeah.
I could never do it, man. So I realized that for me the challenge was keeping my blood pressure in a good place while getting bigger. Getting bigger wasn't necessarily hard for me. My body just when I was in a phase when I was training a lot hard and I was just eating as much as I wanted and then allowing myself to have whatever treats I wanted on top of it. That for me always worked the best. But then when I tried to force it, like these articles talking about, just these massive meals, no, it would just shoot my blood pressure up. So I could never do it for any prolonged amount of time. The only approach I could do that stayed very productive for me was where I ate basically a bodybuilding diet, 5 meals I would eat, and then I would eat like I would eat a bit of a treat, like a slice of cake or something like that. And I found
Okay.
and then I would also take a big intra shake. I would do that. I would get about a
Okay.
thousand. Yeah, I had about 1,000 calories in total in this shake.
Well, that is a
So
big interest shake.
it,
Yeah.
it's a big shake. So that, and then the actual food portion was, it was high 3,000s, probably about, so it was about 5,000 calories at most per day, somewhere between the mid 4,000. And whenever I tried going higher than that, Sam, yeah, the weight went on quicker, but it was just bloat and I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, for sure. I think the last time I like pushed my body weight up a couple years ago, I was probably eating about that because I was having it was like a pretty structured it was when I was working with another coach, and so it was in the meal plan it was I think um I was having like the cream of rice and eggs and stuff in them for breakfast with I think maybe a banana, and then the next like I think it was like four, I think it was 5 meals. I think I was having 6 meals a day. But yeah, because okay, so four of them were like 6, or was it 7 ounce? It was like 7 ounces of protein with like 2 cups of rice, and then like my post-workout meal was, or was it a pre-workout meal? I remember having to like eating like a Costco muffin with like with a meal along with like other stuff, and that
Sam,
was
That's so funny you say that because I always say one of the stand true approaches to get somebody big, it's between 6 to 10 ounces of meat and between 1 and 2 cups of rice.
yeah,
And then you do that 5 times a day. Then you have something different for breakfast, something different for dinner, maybe, and then your shake, and it always works. It's like you wish it didn't work like that because it's so simple. So I would say
hmm,
between 6 and 10 ounces of meat. This is depending on the size of the person.
yeah,
And 1 cup as a minimum. I find generally if I make it 1 cup of rice, in about 50 carbs for like 5 of the meals, the average guy who's around 200 to 220, he will just start getting leaner. He will start getting leaner. His weight will come down a little bit. And then it's easy to then say, okay, as we're trying to get bigger, now we increase the rice to 1.5 cups. And
hmm,
then I find like the biggest guys, you give them two, at the end of the day, the human body is still the human body. I think some people overestimate how much food it actually takes. In some ways, it's a lot, Sam, but it's that consistency. It's the fact that they're always doing it every 3 hours.
yeah,
People focus too much on the minutia. They focus on the actual meal. They're like, whoa, this meal is so big. No, that meal is not even that big if you compare it to the person who is eating that meal. But
yeah,
you can do your own version of that meal just with the proportions, for an average person, maybe 4.5 ounces of meat, maybe 5 with, the quality of meat nowadays never seems to be as good. So I always like to go a little bit higher, but 4 or 5 ounces, that's the bottom level. That's what I'll give a female
yeah,
or, a very small guy who doesn't eat very well. And then at the top end would be probably about 10 ounces. Yeah. Even for guys who are like 330 pounds of muscle, I've never seen because the human body is still the human body. So your digestive properties are not that different. Your stomach
yeah,
doesn't upregulate. You're not getting better at doing this. It's just how much can your body handle every 3 hours? That's the question. And the
yeah,
bigger you get, the more it is, the smaller. And everybody thinks too much. They think of the wrong aspects of it. Everybody should be eating every 3 hours. And it's a pain in the ass. That's the hard part. The hard part is that.
yes,
And then the training just reflects who you are as a person. I always say, depending on your personality, depending on what kind of training you do, your body looks different. And that's usually good. Beside when you have those guys who train like pussycats, but they want to be super big and muscular and they don't know what's happening, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's how I structure most things too. Is like for females, usually like the 4.5 to 5 ounces of meat, and then for guys more.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's at the basic levels, it's pretty, and then there are obviously little changes that you can do. When I say 5 ounces, 6 ounces of lean meat, that can be basically whatever the person wants. That's what people don't realize. No one's saying just eat chicken breast,
yeah,
even though nowadays that's, with how much stuff costs, I can't blame people for using more chicken breast instead of steak. So I always give, trade it out as you want. But
yeah,
just in general, I mean, that's a very wide variety of foods you can be eating. And the same with the carbs. It doesn't have to be rice. Eat potato if you want. Eat whatever you want. Just single ingredient food. It's not that complicated. People make that part complicated, I think, but then they really underestimate the importance of just doing it and doing it
yeah,
every 3 hours. And our bodies are our sales cards. Our bodies say it all, don't they? That's what I really
hmm
learned. That's what I really learned, man. Our body just tells the whole story. And you're looking really good, dude. You look so much fresher than you used to look. You're looking
Thank you.
fuller. You're looking really
Yeah.
good. And the skin looks really good too, dude. So,
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I think because I was because my work schedule just changed this week because I couldn't like since I said like my seniority isn't the best, so I have to bid for a job every 3 months, and so I kind of just get what I get. So fortunately, the last 6 months I was on jobs that had 3 days off during the week, but a few months ago, remember that was the when I had to work overnights. So
yeah.
that was like the trade-off. Is I got 3 days off, but I had to work overnight, so that wasn't really good.
Which
So
which one do you prefer? Which yeah, because both are kind of crappy in their own way. But
yeah, I think, well, right now I have 2 days off a week, but I don't have to do any overnights. They're going to be, I have a few like midday shifts and a few like swing shifts. So that's good because now I can sleep every night. So
yeah, and
that
that's
was the
the best, right?
sacrifice. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd rather just, is I could either go to a job that had 3 days off, but work overnights again, or I could have 2 days off a week and sleep at night. I'm like, I'm just going to sleep at night. I'm choosing that.
That's what I would choose to,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. This schedule isn't, I think no one wanted it because it has weekdays off. I'll have like Tuesdays and Wednesdays off from the railroad, but those are the days my wife can work. So it works out for me.
So your wife then goes to work on those days?
Yes.
Now, do you guys get good family time together, or are you always having to work? I mean,
That was what was nice about my schedule the last few months is we had like Thursday off together, so we could do stuff on Thursdays.
and have you been doing stuff together on Thursdays now?
Yeah, we were, and then so now we'll do it like Mondays, because Monday I don't go into work till 6:30 in the evening. So I have mostly Monday off. So we can do stuff
Okay.
Monday, and then on the weekends I go to work in the afternoon, so we can do stuff in the morning on the weekends, which is better because it's getting so hot here in Texas we can't really go out in the
Dude, I
afternoon.
can only imagine how hot is it there?
Um, on 4th of July it was like 100, but it's been like in the upper 90s.
Oh, well, it's same here, man. We're
Yeah.
over 100 a lot. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think it might be more humid where you are.
Yeah, it's been bad, dude.
Yeah.
It's hot.
Because I've only been to North Carolina once, but it was in the summer and it was so humid.
It is humid. It's not as bad as Florida, but yeah, I've never been to Texas. It's much drier there, right?
Yeah, at least up here in Dallas, it's not as humid. It just gets like, it was humid Monday because we had like thunderstorms. So that's different. I'm not used to that coming from California, like having like thunderstorms in the summer.
California is like perfect though. That's
Yeah,
why everybody went there for extreme sports and everything. California, perfect weather always. Yeah, you'll never beat that.
yeah, yeah. No, well, at least in Southern California, like where I grew up in my little hometown, it was not very
Mm.
good weather.
Really?
Yeah, and we had it was like in the middle of California, but we had like a weird microclimate in that valley where it was
Oh,
always like 60 degrees and like windy, and then in the afternoon it'd just get cloudy. It was like living in Northern California, but we were in,
okay. Yeah, yeah. No, so that's unique. That's cool in its own way. Yeah. Huh.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, and then it was ironic, we had a beach called Surf Beach, if anyone knows, but you don't surf there because there's great white sharks.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Wow.
there'd always be like an attack like every couple years because the locals knew not to surf there. You'd go to other beaches, but people from like LA or something would come up because they've heard of Surf Beach, and there are really big waves there, but
Yeah.
they're sharks.
Well, is it only every couple of years?
Yeah, because that's when like someone that hasn't heard of it, like the attacks, I guess, decide to go up there and surf.
Oh, so normally there aren't many people up there.
No, like no one ever goes into the
Okay,
water.
okay. Because I was just gonna say, like, if only 1 or 2 people get bit you're like, "Ah, I'll take the risk." But if very few people do it, that's a different matter. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, no one ever like goes into the water.
okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And then I would say following on with the testosterone,
Yeah, let's get
obviously
back on
trait
track.
no, I mean it's all good stuff, man. But with the testosterone and the boosting, obviously training hard and getting yourself into that aggressive state within reason. Everybody has a different version of that, so I hate to say aggressive even, but where you feel fired up and you're getting after the weight. You don't
Mhm.
need to go to like a negative. Some people go to a negative place in there. You don't need to do anything that extreme, but get yourself fired up. Lift some heavy weights with control, obviously, control it, but doing some of that will help boost your testosterone, absolutely. And I think all these things, even if you take TRT, why wouldn't you do it? Do it all. These are all
Yeah.
beneficial things. You know what I'm saying? Sleeping well, don't, that's why I say don't just get TRT and continue sleeping badly, because then the only thing you're doing is increasing your chance of having a heart attack. Because, yeah, if you take TRT, your blood gets a little bit thicker. And then if you're not sleeping, which is the main problem, then that's super dangerous. Any extra risk factors that you might have, it becomes more dangerous. So why would you do that, you know?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. You should still be doing all these other things. What do you think about like it's like squatting and stuff? I've heard like that was good for boosting testosterone, but I'm not sure if I've read like any studies myself.
Well, think about it. What is a squat? You're taking a weight that you probably find very uncomfortable. You're putting it on the back of your neck. You're stepping out, and then you're doing a squat, which is not like, do you do squats normally? On an everyday basis? A lot of people don't. So I would say
Yeah.
before you start squatting with a bar, make sure you're good at just doing a squat, because the squat is one of the best exercises. And yeah, absolutely, I think it'll boost your testosterone, because you have to really get yourself tight. You have to get yourself a little bit fired up. All these things, these elevations, this will help boost your testosterone up, and you'll definitely feel it. That's why people say, oh, yeah, it boosts my testosterone, because they qualitatively feel an increase in just their mood and their energy overall after doing it. Because you're going to get that whenever you exert yourself hard, and especially on something as uncomfortable as a barbell squat, you're going to get some good rewards from it. So I would say yes. But if we're just saying, okay, after the squats, we're going to test your testosterone levels and see what huge difference there is, probably not huge. I don't think that. But all the other benefits you're getting out of it, I would say, yeah, overall, it's doing what you want it to do.
Okay, got it. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, that's one of my favorite movements to do is squatting.
I
So
know
that's good.
you love squats. And keep doing them, because the
Yeah,
squat is, once you can't do them, so you have an issue here or there, it's hard to get them back. And I've had to get
yeah,
my squats back several times over the years, and every time it's always painful and hard. So keep
yes.
doing them.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, like I think I mentioned before, like the tendonitis I had to work through to get back to squatting again.
And
So
how is it now overall? Like, do you have any issues?
hardly ever. Like sometimes if I kind of lack on my hip stretches or anything, it starts like coming back a little bit. But then as soon as I get back to that, like if I slacked on my mobility, then I can notice a difference. But then once I get back to doing that every day, it goes away again.
That's
But I
the
mean,
thing.
like
And
a
if you look,
very, like not even, I can just tell like a little something. It's not nothing like how it used to be.
but that's amazing. That means you're in a really good spot, because when you're in a bad spot is you do several days of mobility and nothing's getting better yet. And it takes
Yeah,
you months. You're
yeah,
at a point where you're like, okay, I slept badly. Let me do, okay, now it's better again. That's amazing. That means you're like optimal. That's about as good as you can ever hope it to be. It's always going to get a little bit out of whack. But
yeah,
if you're able to get it right back into a good place, then you're winning, you know?
yeah, yeah, for sure. That's what it's crazy that I've come this far because when I was in the middle of it, yeah, I was thinking I was like never gonna be able to squat heavy again.
Yeah.
So,
That's what I'm saying.
you know,
It's such an amazing thing when you think back to it, where you were, where you are now, and just the body in general. I see it in you when I look at you. I can see it. You're on the way up finally. I'm glad to see it, bro. I mean,
thank you.
yeah, I can only do what I do, dude. We chat every week, we do these podcasts or whatever, but you're the one doing the work. You're the one trying, and I'm really pleased to see how you're looking now. Because yeah, now you're on the up and up. I'm glad to see you, man.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's it's truth.
Yeah. So, okay, so let's say someone's done like the things we said they've improved their sleep. They got something to track that their sleep's improved. They've done a fat loss phase. They've lost the a decent amount of weight, but then for some reason their testosterone's still really low. Then that's when you would say that would probably be a good idea to hop on some TRT.
100%.
Yeah.
And I see nothing wrong with using nothing in life is permanent. It's you're probably not going to use TRT for the rest of your life. You can absolutely, and it'll be a beneficial thing for you. But realistically, it's not like once you stop, you can't stop. Once you start,
Yeah.
you can't stop. A lot of people see it that way, and it's really not that way. Especially if you're just using testosterone, chances are when you stop, all that'll happen is you'll have a couple of weeks maybe where your levels are a little bit low. But look, as long as you're doing everything right, when these bodybuilders they stop and they just totally deteriorate, people go, "Oh my god, look what happened as soon as they stopped drugs." No, no. What happens in those cases, because I know I've been in similar situations, you just stop training and you stop doing everything. And then yes, the body will do that no matter what. But
Yeah.
if you continue training and you continue doing everything, then yeah, it gets smaller and stuff, but you still look amazing. That doesn't change. You've just got a little bit smaller. So a
Yeah.
lot of people, so there's nothing wrong with using something for a while, getting what you want out of it, and then being like, hey, I want to be done with the TRT for now, and then maybe you do Clomid for a few months just to be super super safe with it, and then nothing, and then you're good. You go about your life. These people who get shut down for life from steroids, they're not coming from testosterone use. That's not what's doing it. It's very strong androgenic steroids like Trembolone, DHB, stuff like that that can really fry the neurons and different parts of our brain. Like they haven't done
Mm.
tests on
Yeah.
people to determine this stuff, but I can tell you for a fact, if you go and put half a gram or a gram of Trembolone into your body on a weekly basis, there is going to be damage, whether you like it or not. And it would only make sense that your androgen receptors, the parts that produce testosterone, your Leydig cells, all of that, that might get damaged. If
Okay.
anything's going to do it, it'll be that. It won't be you because you did a 2 year run of testosterone at age 28 and now you're 30. Now, no, you're not doomed to be on testosterone for the rest of your life. You might have a little period where it's a little bit lower, but you also have to ask yourself, what are you doing in life right now? Are you still training? Are you still eating? Or did you say, hey, I'm done with the TRT and I'm done with going to the gym and I'm going to eat like an asshole from now on? If you did
Yeah.
that, you're going to look crappy.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of people get that mistake. They say, hey, I stopped using this TRT or this steroid or whatever, and my body went to crap. But when you ask them, what did you do? No, they didn't continue on what they were doing before, because what they were doing before was contingent on them getting these extreme daily super results that the steroids and whatever drug was allowing them to get. So now that they're not seeing these massive changes from day to day, they're like, oh, I'm just done completely. And then, yes, you do. You lose everything because with the body, and like, think about flexibility. You stop stretching for a few days, you get tight. You have to do work. If you don't train for a few weeks or months, your muscles get a little weaker. You've got to build them back up. It goes like that with everything. So if you just stop everything, of course, it'll go terribly. But that's not the reality of people who are going and just using TRT. If you're using TRT, you are, in my opinion, just maximizing that aspect of your life as far as whatever you can do as far as making your body anabolic and strong. Your TRT is going to give you, the 80-20 rule, Sam, where 20% of the work gets you 80% of the results. The question was when to start TRT. I say start TRT whenever you want. But what I would say, and this is something I would like to say, I don't think you have to pay your dues in the gym. Or before you start TRT, if you're sitting there today and you're out of shape and you're thinking to yourself, I would like to get into shape, then I see nothing wrong with you calling up Premier, getting on TRT today, but at the same time, initiating the training plan, initiating your gallon of water every day, getting your meals in, and do it all. If you do it all right together, you don't have to earn your dues or whatever of doing a certain amount of work before you do this. No, you can get into the sports car right now if you want and drive to your destination, but everything else has to be in place. You can't just jump into the sports car and have nothing else in the place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good analogy. But yeah, I would agree that if that's something you really want to do, then and you've done your blood work and everything and your test is really low, then for sure, then doing that alongside like starting the training plan and the eating and all that stuff, you'll see
Let
like
me ask
really
you
good results.
Yeah, let me ask you a question though.
Hmm.
Let's say you get a guy and he comes along and he is, yeah, let's call him, let's say he's 29. Let's say he's 29 and he goes, listen, Sam, I've got my blood work and you see it, it's 850, nice and high. Everything's in range. He's like, I do all my training and you look at his physique, he looks great. I follow my diet, all of this. I want to get on TRT simply so I can be 10 to 20 pounds of muscle bigger than I am right now. What do you say to that?
That's a good question. I think he's 29. I would have to have like a talk with him to know, like, we can, like you said, it's not going to be, it can, doesn't have to be a forever thing. You could always do like a PCT at the end. But if that's like really what he wants to do of going, because at that point, if you're already in shape and your testosterone's in a healthy spot, it's going to be more like sports HRT, like kind of like extra. So, I mean, if that's, but that's, I mean, that's what he said his goal was, is to
Gonna
gain
be a
just
it's
more
gonna be a
muscle.
steroid it's gonna be a
Yeah.
steroid cycle, right? It's gonna be a
Yeah.
testosterone cycle. It's gonna be 200 milligrams per week, probably something around there, which puts your range that look, I say you're gonna get
Yeah.
you're gonna get a huge percentage of what you could get out of that hormone with the 200 per week. People really underestimate that, I think.
Yeah.
They wanna press that button as hard as they can to get every little bit that comes out without realizing, "Hey, with this small amount, we're already getting a ton of benefits, but
Yeah.
we're getting close to no side effects. If you have a healthy lifestyle, and that means generally healthy, and you're watching everything, your health markers shouldn't change. You shouldn't in any way get unhealthy. And maybe let's say your red blood cell gets a little bit higher. There are different things you can do. You could take IP6 to help block iron, but you could also just initiate some cardio and chances are that mark will just drop right back down in a couple of weeks. So just in general, that's why I like this. I don't like Sam. I don't the morals of it. Do it if that's what you want to do, and you know you understand. Don't ask me if you should do something if you don't know anything about it. But if you come to me and say, "Hey, what's your opinion?" I say, "Okay, I will probably change X, Y, and Z." That's it. I just give my input. I have no moral uh, qualms with it either way. You're going to do what you
Yeah.
want to do. I just don't like when people rely on it because that means they are shortchanging another aspect of their life, either their training, their cardio, just something like that. And not only will they get less results, but more than anything, they're putting undue strain onto their body. Because if you're
Yeah.
taking extra testosterone, okay, cool, you have this extra testosterone. You better make sure everything in general is healthy for you, right? Because you have this extra thing because it's if you try and put too much force through a small funnel, right, you're going to have an explosion. So you have to make sure that everything around it is healthy and functioning well before you just add in the supercharger, so to say. That's the
Yeah.
only I'm
Yeah.
saying that's the only time I've seen people have any kind of issues with a TRT approach is if they're already having a like an unhealthy lifestyle. And then yeah, possibly it
Yeah.
can make things even worse. I would say,
Yeah. Yeah.
polypharmacy in general is bad and people don't consider these are all drugs, right? So if you're taking the drug testosterone, maybe lay off the drug ethanol, maybe leave the alcohol alone, stuff like that.
Yeah, that'd probably be a good idea. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, if they really want to do it, then I mean, as long as they're not, I'm not gonna, what's the word? If that's already like what they've set on, then they've already made their mind up. So yeah, exactly. But I mean, that's you said that 200 milligrams a week of testosterone gets you good results, and I would agree because that's all I've been doing with my HRT, and it's only because and well, I mean, my testosterone was like 300 when I think I started. So it's only brought it up. It's bringing it up to around that level. I think like around maybe 1,000 at the most. Because I do like the daily injection, so it's not like big like peaks and valleys. It just kind of like brings it up, and then I'm staying like in a
Yeah.
good place.
That yeah, that sounds perfect to me. That's you're optimizing everything, but you're not taking anabolics in a way where your HDL is getting crushed down. That's my
No,
worry, dude. Everybody
yeah,
has their unique worry. My worry is that by crushing the HDL and then allowing the bad cholesterol to be get high. I just have a friend. He's not a bodybuilder or anything, but he just got a scan, and one of the little arteries in his heart, just one really deep, just one, has like like a 50 to 70% plaque buildup. So he's
oof,
super worried about that. So
yeah,
it's that we're talking about a tiny amount of fat building up in a small area. It doesn't take a lot. So
yeah,
I'm just concerned about these guys who are just anti-estrogens, orals, all this stuff. Their cholesterol is like really bad all the time. Those arteries and stuff are really hardening and closing on themselves. And I
Yeah.
think if you look at a lot of bodybuilders, what I've noticed in the last few years, a lot of guys, once they hit about 40 or so, which is my age, but I've noticed a lot of them just age really quickly and like literally go totally gray, for example. When you get gray hair, that's your body fighting off cancer. That's your body's under stress at that point when it's losing that. So if you suddenly go gray all over, that's a worrying sign. Your body's under a lot of stress at that time. I've
Yeah.
noticed
Yeah.
that. I've noticed that a lot. That's why I've always stayed away from anything like that. The anti-estrogens, I would only ever use something like that right before a contest because yeah, it does make a big difference. It dries up the fat, especially on your hamstrings and ass. It tightens all of that up. It works.
Hmm.
There's a reason people do it, but it's a tool that you save, until you need it. You're a few weeks out and you're like, yeah, it still could get a bit tighter there. Then you make the executive decision of including the anti-estrogen, and then that area tightens up and you're good. But a lot of people just take the approach of, okay, we're just going to do it all from day one, 16 weeks out. We're taking all these drugs. And I
Yeah.
honestly think doing several years where you're doing this to your body, I think the health consequences are going to really be bad from that. So we're going to see an uptake of people having ill health, unfortunately, because there's a lot of people who was doing that, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and they kept doing it year after year, these 4 month blitzes of
Hmm.
anti-estrogens, all the drugs you can imagine, and then still probably some drugs at other points of the year too. But just doing that, that's my concern, Sam. And you avoid that. If you're just taking 200 mg of testosterone, you probably don't even need an anti-estrogen. And if you do,
Yeah.
it's going to be a very small amount and you're going to take
Yeah.
the right amount and your HDL will be fine. So this way we can get, you're bigger, you're fuller, you're stronger. I actually just started back on the TRT myself last week and I hadn't taken anything for, a long time, but I just started back and you feel it immediately. You feel more energy, you feel more fullness to your body. I'm a big fan of it. But dude, you have to understand, I'm an extreme guy. People know me from
Yeah.
bodybuilding forums and stuff. I am an extreme human. So when I'm saying I consider this the most extreme that I would suggest, I don't suggest doing more than this because I just see all these ill health benefits.
Yeah.
I don't see a positive in it. Of course, if you take a gram of testosterone, you're going to be bigger. If you take 2 grams, you'll probably be bigger again. Yeah, that's how it works. But that size that you're gaining, that goes away once the drugs go away. So
Hmm.
what is that size beside localized inflammation in your muscles? What else is it? That's all it can be. And
Yeah.
that's really bad for you, dude. So that's not
Yeah.
bodybuilding. That's just let's have a few years of looking super freaky and then have health issues for the next 20 years. No thanks.
Yeah. That's like I'm not sure if people really realize like that's the trade-off. And I know if like I'm sure you younger guys are not thinking that far ahead, but for guys if they're in their 30s and we're just trying to get into shape, then there's no reason to be going to like that extreme.
Consistent. There's no I just saw, you see these young guys like Logan Dishman and stuff, 18 years old, super jacked up. But then they show blood work and stuff, and it's not good. They
Yeah.
have they have different issues. The thing is, just because you're younger, it's like people think there's this sweet spot for taking steroids, like somewhere in their late 20s. The reality is, up until you're 26, your brain isn't fully developed. So you're not even truly thinking rationally. And it's true. Your brain
Yeah.
does change when you're around 26. You see things differently. But as far as your resilience of your body, that's going to be the strongest when you're a young man, when you're a teenager or whatever. Your body's going to be able to handle the abuse the best. So if you're seeing these young guys and they're already getting all these side effects at that age, it's like, man, it's just going to be bad. There's no other way for it. And that's why
Yeah.
you see who was it, what Murphy, right? He died at age 32 just the other day, drowned in Thailand. Did you see that?
I saw it once I didn't know until you posted it on your story.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
then, dude, it's funny because there's like these different worlds, right? You have like the internet guru kind of world, and there's like this circle of really crazy guys, Boston Lloyd, Tony Huge, Big Lenny, and I'm like on this circle outside that. And I interact with some of these because I knew Big Lenny. Obviously, I
Yeah.
knew Boston. I did a podcast with Leo and all of that. So it's kind of trippy to me to see all these guys like dropping dead from like just Conor Murphy was injecting gold into his body. thinking he was becoming superhuman.
Oh,
Imagine how lost you are out in Thailand with renting your girlfriend, and then you're injecting gold into your body. Man,
okay. I didn't know. I had to like look into him once you posted about it, but I didn't. Yeah,
yeah,
that's crazy.
yeah,
That's crazy. So if so, um, my question was, oh, so let's say someone is doing like the HRT, but then they want to do something like a little bit more than just like the 200 mgs of like testosterone a week. Like what would you recommend? Or I don't know if it recommends the right word, but like if someone like let's say if they wanted to do a growth phase, like hypothetically, what
yeah.
would be
I
the good
get it.
things to do?
So you're training hard. You've got your testosterone in there. Your diet's great. Your everything's going well. So now you want to add something in. The question is, why do you want to add something in? Do you feel like you could do with more cushioning in your joints? Do your joints kind of feel achy? Are you lifting controlled, but it's still kind of irritating your? Then maybe DECA, long-acting nandrolone drug, very strong. Yeah, at dose that you could do that for maybe 10 weeks, try that out, or even you could get it and then instead of in 10 weeks, take it over 20, split it in half. I think
Huh.
that works very well. I only think you need 100 milligrams personally, and I think you get 200 in each mill. So if you get 10 mil of it, I would just split it out over 20 weeks. It'll be a nice background builder,
Hmm.
meaning at that dose, 100 milligrams, 200 milligrams, you shouldn't notice too much puffiness. If you take a lot of it, you'll get very puffy. But it'll make your body more anabolic, as in you will definitely store a little more everything. So you get a little puffier, but your body will be in. The thing is, when you're taking 200 milligrams of testosterone per week, you're already in a pretty anabolic state. So you have to wonder, what really do we need more? That's why I say if your joints are kind of taking a beating, then you go for that. And otherwise, one of my favorites is Anavar. I like Anavar, but I like only on training days. That
Hmm.
way, you don't introduce this foreign drug that is liver toxic to a certain degree every single day. You don't need
Yeah.
think your normal level of Anavar is 0. So any time that you have some Anavar in there, it's going to be working. It's only in the bodybuilding world that people think you need to take all these drugs constantly, so you constantly have stable blood levels. Think about
Yeah.
it. Let's say with any other drug, it's very rare that you go, I want to have maximal blood levels at all times. Normally, you'd be like, we'll have a period up, we'll have a period none, not just this constant. So I think with the Anavar, you can just sprinkle it in by taking it before your main training days, maybe 4 days a week or so. And then you can do that for a prolonged amount of time. You don't have to, if you just take it every day, then you can do maybe 6, 8 weeks. And then you might even have a little bit of a negative change to your blood work. Your HDL might be down, your liver values might be a little elevated from that, depending. But if you take it 3 to 4 times a week, I really think you will notice, and in my experience from seeing clients, it definitely is the case, much less negative changes to your good cholesterol and stuff. And that's my worry with Anavar. It's always you don't want your good
Yeah.
cholesterol to be too low for a long time. But I find if you take it, 3 to 4 times a week, so those would be my two big ones, Sam. There are other things that can be prescribed for specific cases, but just those would be my favorite. And then for bodybuilders who are getting ready for a show, Winstrol that can be prescribed also. That's
Okay.
Winstrol is very good for giving a very specific look to the body. Kind of draws water out from under the skin. It makes the muscles appear harder. It's definitely a cosmetic drug,
Yeah.
so can be useful if you have something like that. I wouldn't really recommend it for everyday use, just for train, because it can impact the joints. It
Yeah.
can make the joints a little more brittle, and
Yeah.
obviously that's the last thing you want. You want your joints to stay strong, guys. That's priority number one, because when your joints go, you can't load your muscles anymore because the joints will break.
Yeah. Yeah. So for the Anavar, would you recommend that more during a dieting phase, or can you use that either if you're doing like a massing phase or a dieting phase?
Anavar will always be Anavar. It's going to do what Anavar does, and that it puts lean muscle on you. It definitely helps with fat loss. Like you can't say it's a fat burner. So if you're just sitting on
Yeah.
your ass, you're just popping Anavar. Even though I bet if they did a test, I still think there would be a difference. Personally, I think that's how anabolic androgenous steroids work, and Anavar is a very well designed one where it gives a lot of benefits. It doesn't increase your blood pressure. It can be a little bit liver toxic, but I've
Yeah.
I've never really seen blood work that suggests just running if somebody is running a lot of different things plus Anavar, but then you can't say it's the Anavar. If you have a healthy lifestyle, you don't drink alcohol, and you just take Anavar, I don't think you will see anything on your liver values that are an issue. But
Mhm.
as I said, the cholesterol, we always want to stay on top of that. So that's just what you would want to watch. Your HDL, you don't want that to really drop too low. So good ways to combat that, Sam. Make sure you're doing some high intensity cardio each week, maybe 2 sessions, and make sure you're including some fish in your diet. I don't really recommend fish oil anymore as a supplement because I just think there are too many negatives to it. But eating fish itself, I'm a fan.
Okay, yeah, the fish is good. What would you recommend, like, any, like, for the HDL, my question was gonna be, like, would you recommend, like, having, like, avocado and a couple other things like that in your diet as well?
100%. I'm a huge
Okay.
fan of avocado. I eat avocado nearly every day. Here's my thought. They've done research that showed that when you combined avocado with red meat, the saturated fat from the red meat was not as inflammatory with the avocado. It was like about 30% less. So I
Nice.
like to eat avocado when I eat like a red meat with fatty red meat or even just red meat in general. So it's taking away some of the stress that the saturated fat can give. So I'm a huge
Nice.
fan, yes.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, I think it just tastes really good if you're having, like, ground beef and rice and you add avocado with it.
The
Yeah.
best. I
Yeah.
love it.
Also on a burger, but
Yep,
make sure
yep,
just
burger.
make your
Hey,
home.
Neil, I like avocado on its own even. I love avocado.
Me too, me too. I just have it with, some salt even.
Yeah, yep,
Yeah,
slice it up.
yeah. So the other thing is, so what do you I know a lot of people are talking about, either, like, Primobolan or, like, Masteron for their, um, like, preferred, like, um, supplement, I guess you could call it, but, like, what are your views? Like, do you think one's better, or do you think everyone's gonna sorry, do you think everyone would, um, kind of, get different effects from it because everyone's, like, different?
It's funny you asked this, Sam, because I do have an opinion on this, but no one's really asked me on it, so now I'll give it.
Okay.
Primobolan used to be this very nearly mystical kind of drug. It was hard to get. They would come in little ampules. And then I remember hearing about one top Mr. Olympia. His entire cycle was a gram of Primo, and that's what he was running as his injectables into the show. And back then, it was like a gram of Primo, so 10 amps a week. That was like an outrageous dose. Most people, they would save up and they would do 3 to 400 milligrams, and that would be their main anabolic. They'd maybe have some test along with it, but that was like a big thing. Now, fast forward to 2026, people are taking such enormous amounts of it that you have to wonder, everything. Yeah, okay, it's safe and doesn't have many negatives in a low dose, but some things, when you raise the dose, have side effects that you wouldn't even expect. So I think a lot of people are going crazy with how much of it they're taking because they go, oh, I'm not getting blood pressure side effects. I'm not getting this. Yeah, but there are other side effects. Every drug has them, and every
Mhm.
drug is unique in its own. So you are like super max dosing this stuff. It doesn't
Yeah.
even want to think about it. It doesn't even want to dissolve in oil more than, you can get it at 200 per mil, but that's a good way to get yourself an infection. But so it's just a powerful compound in many ways, in my opinion. And taking so much of it, I think, will have side effects that people just don't expect. Because, like I said, back in the day, that was the whole cycle. The cycle was the gram of primo. It wasn't a gram of primo plus a gram of this plus a gram of that. It's just you at a certain point, more drugs isn't going to make you look objectively better.
Yeah.
But people continue to take more and more. It'll make the body look different. It'll make it look like more extreme, but objectively, on a bodybuilding stage, you wouldn't say this is better now. It just looks more drugged out. So
Good.
I think a lot of people just way overuse it to start with. It's just like crazy amounts. Do I think they're very similar? I don't think they're very similar. I think Masteron feels vastly different to Primobolan, and I think the effects are different too. But people swear that they swear they're very similar. To me, they're both very strong drugs, but
Mhm.
Masteron terrible on the hairline, and then some people say it's not. I know several guys, and they had full heads of hair before the Masteron cycle. After the Masteron cycle, they were bald. I have seen that
Ooh.
several times, like several. And when I used Masteron, I immediately noticed shedding of hair. I never got that on Primobolan. Some people might get the reverse. Everybody responds to drugs differently. What
Yeah.
I'm saying, to me, Primo and Masteron, they are completely different drugs. I don't
Yeah.
compare them to each other, just like I don't compare a Trembolone to a testosterone to a Deca. These are all unique drugs to themselves. And I think
Okay.
just in general, I think people are just going really crazy with the doses. And if not just for the dose of the drug, the amount of solvent they're injecting into themselves, that's a huge concern for
Yeah.
C-reactive, yeah, for C-reactive protein, for your kidney health. If you're putting 10 mil of like Primo into you, you have 10 mil of solvents. And often that stuff even makes the area inflamed when you inject it. So
Hmm.
think what it's doing inside. So I think if your argument is, hey, I want a drug that pulls down estrogen, makes me look drier and harder, yeah, both of those drugs go in that direction. So you're gonna get that kind of a benefit out of them. I just don't think that they are just comparable for a one-to-one. I think everybody responds to it quite differently.
Okay. Yeah. Because that just seems like, from what I've heard, those are like the two big one that it seems to be people's favorites right now, and then people are debating on which one is better. But yeah, everyone's gonna respond to it differently. So I just wanted to know your thoughts. I've never dabbled into anything like that, so
And
it's still
I'll
like
I'll tell you what I like. I
okay,
like the Primo acetate pills. These
okay,
are they're very, very expensive. I mean, like very expensive. But the thing about it is not 17 alkylated, so it is not liver toxic.
okay,
However, however, because of that, the liver destroys about 70% of the hormone. So if you take 100 milligrams, you're only getting about 30. So
okay,
to have an effective dose, you need to take about 100 milligrams per day. So you are looking like cost wise, it just for Primo powder, you're probably looking at you're looking at a good investment every month. You probably will be spending probably $500 a month just to
okay,
have
just on that.
that. That's why
Uh-huh.
most people will never use it because for that reason they're like, why would I want something that's super expensive and my liver destroys most of it? It's weak. But
Yeah.
to me, I see something that is anabolic, makes your muscles grow, gives very little side effects. You don't have to inject it, so you don't get the solvents. That's a
Uh-huh.
huge deal. And you're still getting the benefit of it, but you can take it orally. Yes, it costs more, but that when it comes to pharmaceuticals and my body, I mean, unless we're talking about human growth hormone, money isn't an issue, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that'd be the other thing, is taking a growth hormone, because I know that's for bodybuilders, that's usually one of the things they have in, like, most of the time.
I'll tell you, I no longer take it and I wouldn't take it again because of the potential cancer risks. No, it won't cause cancer, but dude, we are constantly being bombarded with toxins and environmental issues that we're
Yeah,
constantly fighting off the potential. So I wouldn't want a little bit of cancer to start and then the growth hormone makes it grow big when maybe I got a little bit and then the body destroys it. Who knows? I might never even know about it. But
yeah,
if I
yeah.
have but if I have that growth hormone in there, if something did start to grow, it would just explode. For that reason, I don't personally take it anymore.
Okay, I didn't think about that. So that's a good you have a very good point there, 'cause that is an issue, unfortunately, nowadays, with everything, like, in the environment kind of working against
Think
us.
about it. What, like 1 out of 2 people gets cancer? I mean, it's a very big rate. It's not a thing to play with.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's the unfortunate, I mean, I guess that can also go back to, like, the beginning of, like, things that's gonna be bringing testosterone down, is just the environment you're in. I don't know if that I feel like that
But
could have also played a part, since, I was living, in, down in LA. I'm sure, like, that compared with, like, my not optimal eating, being a little overweight, and then my sleeping being poor, all, like, contributed to my low testosterone.
it's all, Sam, it's nearly never one thing.
Yeah.
Just isn't. It just isn't. Different factors accumulate, and then we get what we get. We shouldn't even bother trying to think back, okay, what caused me that issue? Because in general, it was everything, right? We know that.
Yeah.
When, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, LA, dude, the air quality there must be terrible, and you have to breathe constantly. So
Yeah.
that, yeah, good you
You
moved.
have to.
Yeah, you have to constantly. So
Yeah.
you constantly gotta suck that crap in? No,
Yeah.
man, that's no good. So what
Yeah.
else did you wanna talk about with the TRT and the boosting up I we can do anything you want.
I think we covered mostly everything I wanted to talk about. um, because you hit on the, trend being so toxic, because I know a lot of people that's um for some reason people just gravitate like straight to going to that. I know like
Oh,
some
yeah,
people
look.
have made jokes like zero to trend.
Yeah, here's what I would say with tren, right? You have first of all, you have to understand that when you're taking steroids, you're taking recreational drugs. Whether you like to admit it or not, what you are doing is recreational drug taking. It's no different to anything else. You are choosing to do this. No one's prescribing this to you. You're getting it for yourself. You're taking it for your own recreation. If that is to get in better shape, so what? What the reason why you're doing it, that's your own thing. But I'm just pointing that out. Tren is like the methamphetamine of drugs. So let's
Yeah,
say testosterone, you could call, I don't know, comparisons like this don't work because you can't actually compare them. But just as a general overview, testosterone might be something like your marijuana or your alcohol,
yeah, something like that.
something very basic. Obviously, you can overdo on it. Obviously, you can create issues, but overall, it's pretty safe. Something like tren, it's like a methamphetamine. If you start it, who knows what's going to happen? But it's very damaging on the brain. It's damaging on the body. It gives absolutely remarkable changes in the body. You will change by the day. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
Absolutely. It's a steroid made to fatten, well, not to fatten, but to bulk up cattle before they're killed. So if you consider yourself a cattle, then maybe it's a good drug. But people get addicted to it because you feel like Superman. Like it really makes you the main character in your own head. And if you're sitting there and go, "Oh, that sounds cool," it's not because you probably already feel like that to start with. So now you're just a super narcissistic asshole. That's all that makes you into.
yeah,
I mean, it really is. And people like that. It makes you feel just like fired up. I mean, it's just extremely strong. And for people to, if you take any other steroids at the same time, I nearly say they're like overshadowed by the trend. Trend is just such a strong, harsh thing to put into your body. And if you just jump to that straight away, it's like, okay, you're just recreational drug taking. I mean, you're just jumping to the methamphetamine. Do it if you want, but probably not going to be happy with the results.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay, yeah, that was the only other thing I really wanted to talk about. I think we covered a lot of good things, the kind of pretty much the whole spectrum, as if you wanted to bring up your testosterone from um like a place just like holistically to all the way on the other side if you're trying to do like more bodybuilding kind of things.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I would just say as a little added, as we were talking about the anavar, sometimes you'll get like female athletes who don't want to, who want to remain as feminine as possible, but they also want to use something. If you get pharmaceutical anavar, you know what you're getting. You're not going to get D-bol instead. You're not going to get misdosed. You're going to get what you get. Then if you take just the anavar and you only take it 3 days per week, but on those days you go in and you train your ass off for 2 hours. On the other days of the week, you can do it on a 1 day on, 1 day off schedule. On the other day when you're off, do your cardio, all that other stuff. On the day that you take the anavar, whole body, beat the crap out of yourself. Take the anavar before the workout, beat the crap out of yourself. Make those androgen receptors really want to upregulate, no, not upregulate, but take up the anavar that you've given it by training the entire body all the way through. I think if you do that on an every other day basis like that for a female, you can make remarkable gains and the side effects stay like, well, you're obviously taking it 50% less. That makes a
yeah,
huge difference. But I really think that if you utilize it in the workout instead of just taking these drugs and then just sitting around, not doing nothing, people never think about it like that. But you do, you get several elevated hours of higher androgens, especially for a woman if she takes Anavar. So you
yeah,
need to use that. Get in the gym, train for several, a couple of hours, whole body, train really hard. And then you go home and eat. Then you'll grow really quickly and the side effects will be pretty low. But I just added that, Sam, because I'll often get females sending me a question and saying, how should I take the Anavar? I'm not a doctor. I can't ever tell you any medical advice. I'm just saying, for me, that makes rational sense. And every
yeah,
other day approach where you train the entire body and then on the day off, you do your cardio, that kind of training will take you very far. I have had several female athletes that have used that approach and yeah, they've made tremendous gains. So I just wanted to add that.
yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point because I think, and also make sure you're getting it prescribed because, like you said, you don't want to get other things. Because I've heard stories of females taking what they thought was Anavar, and then it ends up being something else, which is way like
Yeah.
harder on their body. And then you have to remember, like for like women, they barely have any testosterone. So you just taking like a little bit of Anavar like every other day is like thousands of times
Yeah.
more like
Exactly.
androgenic than you would think. Like it's a way bigger thing than for guys taking the same dose.
Absolutely. And you don't need it there. The main adaptations to the muscle happen 8 hours in those 8 hours after a workout. So how I see it is if you have androgens in the body at that time, when the body makes the biggest changes, you're going to get the benefits. And then on the day off, no, you don't have that in your body. Guess what? Your body doesn't produce it to start with. So
Yeah,
you're making a massive difference you could have it no days, or you could have it one day on, one day off. Think about the difference. Zero or that. It's a massive difference. You don't need to take it every day to get the benefits at all.
for sure. Would you, just a real quick training question then, would
Yeah,
you,
of
when
course.
you had them doing like the full body thing, would you alternate if they start with the lower body and upper body, or would it always kind of be the same thing each workout?
It's a very good question, Sam, because I love training. So
Yeah.
this is the approach that I use to put on size onto men and women. Yeah, yeah. Either way, when they just need they're new to training, at least for growing muscle, I put them on a whole body workout every session. 3 working sets. We don't even need a warm up generally. But we have a generalized warm up, but once we've done that, the weights that we're using, it's all for 12 to 20 reps. Now,
Okay.
my goal is to get them to take the muscle to failure. Everybody can do it to a varying degree, but our goal is not moving a heavy load. It's moving a moderate load.
Okay.
We're moving a moderate load and we're focusing on the target muscle. Do we go up in weight? We do. When we're like, okay, I got 20 reps on all 3 sets, let's go up in weight. Next time we go up. But we're not
Okay.
chasing that. The
Okay.
weight is just a tool. So if we need to change the tool, we'll change the tool. But we're not give me the biggest hammer right away. We don't care about that. So we're staying in that rep range. And then yes, I will always do it in a superset fashion. I
Okay.
like to superset the opposing muscle groups. So I like to do, let's say, fly with a pull apart. I like to do an extension with a curl. I like to
Uh-huh.
actually for the legs, if I have in my home gym, I'm able to do this because it's just me, the client, in the home gym. I do leg extension. No, I do leg curls seated, leg extension, and then straight into leg press, and then straight into calf raise because they can do it on on the machines. So we get a
Okay.
lot of work done in. It doesn't take a lot of time. You finish the set of leg press, you immediately go into the set of calf raise. But
Okay.
yes, I would then alternate depending on the client. If we did, let's say, legs first last time, we'll start with the upper body.
Okay. For the legs, would that be like all four back to back, or you superset the leg curls and leg extensions, and then the next one you superset the leg press and the calf raises, or is it all four?
In
You just do all four together?
in this case, it's all four just because the leg extension, leg curl, it's the same machine,
Yeah.
and the leg press and calf raise, it's the same machine. And we
Yeah.
just superset them. The reason we do that is so they get to stand up because otherwise they're just stuck in that seated position doing leg curl and leg extension. I break it up by having the leg press because they have to stand up, walk over to the leg press, sit back down, basically just making sure their low back or something doesn't tighten up if I kept them in the similar kind of position for all 4 sets.
That makes sense. That's what I do, like, when I'm short on time is something similar. Um, like, I'll do my leg curls. Well, I do stand because at mine, I don't have, like, a seated leg curl at my home gym. It's like I do this, like, the single leg, like, standing leg curls right into leg extensions into, like, a squat.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yes, what I find is as soon as you learn how to breathe correctly on the set, you're not winded after the set, right? So you can superset, go to these different exercises with very little time, and then once you're doing the exercise, you're zoned in on the exercise, you're giving it your full effort. So it's not like you're fatigued. The problem is when people are holding their breath or whatever during the sets, so then their breathing is impaired.
Yeah.
Whenever somebody's breathing is impaired, I always wait before we do the next set. I'm like, I want your breathing back to normal because otherwise they won't be able to give the set their full effort, right?
Yeah.
Their lungs will be the issue.
For sure. So one more question then about the training. So when you're doing the supersets, do you do, like, the antagonistic muscle groups and then do you rest? Or does it depend on who you're training, like, how long the rest period is before you go right back into the next set?
My rest period is always the same. I literally, if they finish the extensions, I walk to the next machine and I stand there. They take however long they need to get into the machine and do it. So
Okay,
they often they might go and grab a drink. It's a small garage, so they just walk over drink, but it's always it wouldn't be longer than about 30 seconds between sets.
okay,
We keep going like that, but I make a huge emphasis on every rep has to be its own breath.
okay.
Otherwise they're gassed, right?
Yeah, yeah,
If you do a set of leg press for 20 reps and you're holding your breath, you're totally gassed.
yeah, for sure. Okay, so that's what you do. So you do the but I'm saying, like, so you do, let's say, like, chest and back, and then you just go right back to chest, or you just that's when you take, like, the 30-second break and then or that depends?
Yeah, no, that would depend.
Okay,
That really depends on who it is and how we're doing it. Yeah, if we're doing a back and then we superset it with a chest, I would generally like to have a third exercise in there, maybe something like a side lateral
okay,
or like a set of abs, because I find you need a little bit longer time than the amount of time it takes to do the set and come back over to the exercise for
mhm,
chest and back. It just
yeah,
depends on it depends on the person and the body part. But yeah, I would often put an extra thing in there just to make it a little bit longer rest because I want their individual muscles to have a couple of minutes rest. When you're
yes,
not doing the chest press and you're doing the back, your chest is resting. I want your chest to have some rest. That is important. I don't want you to only rest for like 1 minute and then right back into it. I want a couple of minutes.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's good, that's good. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that just in case anyone else
That's
wanted
important.
to try
Yeah.
that. So, yeah, that makes sense to me. So, yeah, that's a good idea. So then you do, like, the chest and back and then, let's say, shoulders, and then if you're supersetting arms, you could throw in abs with that.
Yeah, that's generally how I do it. It doesn't always do it like that. Let's say you're in a busy gym, then I would just do the body parts one by one as you go. It's just more time consuming that way
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
because you do need to rest between the sets. So if you're only doing leg press, you need to make sure you're taking 2 minutes between your working sets, but not between your warm up sets. Otherwise, you're there all day. Like there's no
Yeah,
reason for any workout, in my opinion, to ever take more than 2 hours. If you can't get it done in
no.
2 hours, I don't know what you're doing. But sometimes I find for a lot of people, 1 hour is a little bit short. A lot of people, it's somewhere between that 1 and 2 hour mark, I think.
Yeah, 1 hour is usually pretty good for me. Um, because yeah, usually yeah, for the worms, you don't need to really yeah, you kinda just kinda keep going up. It depends, like, I do, like, my first, like, warm-up set and then usually just go straight into, like, the next one for, like, a few depending, like, how much weight I'm doing, of course.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it depends if you're trying to lift really heavy for that exercise, then your approach is different than if you're just focused on working the muscle and just doing and you're like, okay, next set I'll put some more weight on. But every rep, my point is with the training is every single rep that I do, I'm trying to make that as productive as possible. I
Yeah.
used to think about it more like I want this set to be productive. I want to get all 10 reps. Now I literally think on a rep by rep basis. Let me make
Mhm.
that rep as good as I can, squeeze as much as I can, and then I think about the next rep. It means I get a lot less reps overall, but the quality is much better.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing too, I like that approach. It's also easy because you don't have to think about counting, at least for me. You just
Yeah,
do,
me
like,
too.
each
Like
rep, you just you just go as hard as you can on each rep, and then when you're done, you're done.
that to me that's the like how else should one train? That's how you train. It's like and today you're going to go as hard as you possibly can for today, and if you slacked it or not. And it's not even a case of, oh, last week I did 12 reps. You can feel if there's another rep there. You can feel where you're at. Keep
Yeah,
going, as just do as much as you can, and you'll know if there's like a line, right? If we're here, we have to get to at least here. We don't have to be up here all the time. It doesn't have, it can just be down here, but we have to at least do that. You know what I
yeah,
mean? That we have to put that minimal amount of effort in. But I find as long as I'm focusing on every rep, as I get closer to failure, those reps feel better. I actually feel something. I'm like, I'm working for it. I don't just want to stop then. I
yeah,
don't understand why people want to stop once it starts getting hard because you did all that work just to get to this point.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and now you're in
Like
the productive zone, so yeah.
yeah. That's when it really makes a difference.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Yeah, cool. Man, this was a really great conversation. We covered a lot today. I like this. This is good.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun today. What do you think about it's Thursday, so today Dave Palumbo and Phil Viz have a debate. Have you seen all of this?
I have not. I have not.
Oh,
I haven't been like when I go on social media, I really just look at like your stories and a couple other people.
that's smart. That's smart. I do very much the same, but Phil Viz's stuff shows up. And Phil Viz and Dave don't have a lot of love between the two of them. And today they're gonna do a debate, which will be very
Okay.
amusing. It's gonna be amusing because both of them have such kind of awkward personalities in their own way.
Yeah.
Phil is like, Phil comes across as Phil comes across, and Dave is how Dave is. So it's gonna be interesting. I'm looking forward to hear that.
When is that gonna be?
I'm not sure what time. I just know it's today. So they're doing
Okay.
some random dude who has a small channel has them on hosting them. So it's gonna
Okay.
be
I'll have to try to I'd probably be
and
working, but maybe I'll see a
when
replay of it.
when I see a link for it, I'll send it to you when I see the link.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. It'll be entertaining. Yeah,
Cool. Awesome, man. We'll try to plan the next one because since my work schedule changed, but we'll make it work.
we'll make it work. You just let me know, and I'll make it work, brother.
Cool. All right. Sounds
All right,
good.
dude. Great,
Okay.
great podcast today.
It was. All right. I'll talk to you later.
All right, later, bro. Good one.